Quite frankly, I don't think I've ever come to dislike a character more in One Piece than I have Ange. Well, dislike might be the wrong word here, because it's not like I dislike Ange, it's just that I'm really sus of Ange. I don't think she's on our side. So you might be saying, Sai, what the hell are you talking about? We have only known her for maybe a chapter, if you want to call it that, right? She made her introduction in 1134. We saw like 1 or 2 panels of her in 1133. That's all we got. But that's all that was needed for me to not trust Ange. I don't think she's on Team Giants. I don't think she's on Team Straw Hats. In fact, I think she's on Team Holy Knights. Welcoming you guys today. It is 5 a.m. at night. I got a crackpot theory, and to be honest, this video can be seen as a joke if you want, or you could look at it and say, oh wow, Sai, this is your lottery bet, huh? This is the hill you're gonna die on. And I think it is. You know, everybody has a time and place where God calls them to the battlefield, and brother, you gotta fight when that happens. And for me, this is that. I thought it was last week when I became a solid defender of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his movie Red One. But now I got called over to another battlefield. And that's the battlefield of saying that Anne is a holy knight or someone that is working with the celestial dragons. So this theory is going to be very unstructured because, to be honest, there's not a lot to go off of. You know, it's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, a bunch of speculation. I know when you hop into a theory, that is not the first things you want to hear from the person telling you about said theory. But hear me out. I got a vibe, dude. I just got a vibe, man. I mean, here's the thing, right? We've all been with One Piece for many, many years now. We all have a different sense of the story. And for me, dude, I just look at Ange and I'm like, oh, you know, like something about her is really blaring these alarms in my head. So the reason why I think Ange is a Holy Knight is because of the arrival of the Holy Knights here, right? We got Stabs, or the Shanks clone, whatever you want to call that guy, and we have another female Holy Knight arriving in Elbaph. And not just that, but they're actually in Elbaph's castle. So because they showed up in Elbaph's castle, that made me wonder, why now? Right? Out of any time they could have come, why now? It seems so perfect. Because the castle right now, to our knowledge at least, right, we don't really get a good glimpse of the castle or the innards of the castle, but it's seemingly empty. You know, nobody's reacting, nobody's saying, oh, guards, come quick, there's intruders. Nobody says that. In fact, they show up to a seemingly empty room. So I was like, wait, did they just simply get lucky and show up when no one's around? Or did someone tell them that no one's in the castle and that every giant is outside partying? That's what I'm saying. I think there is a giant that is working on the Holy Knight side and said, hey guys, the castle's empty, the Straw Hats are here, the people are partying, you can come to Elbaph. It is clear. And the only character I can think of that would do that is Ange, and the reason why is because in 1134, Saul tells Anne to give Luffy, Usopp, and Zoro a tour around the area. And Luffy, Usopp, and Zoro, they run off, you know, they just speed through. They see the kids, they see Ripley-sama, it's great. But Ange is lagging behind. Ange actually shows up after a few panels and says, oh, you know, sorry, I took a second. There you are, Luffy. And I was like, wait a minute. What if in between those pages, you know, those pages where the Straw Hats are doing their thing, what if Ange is making a phone call? Hey, Holy Knights. Hey, girl with bandages. It's me, Ange. The Straw Hats are here. The castle's empty. Time to make our move. That's what I think. So, as far as why, like why Ange, right? Why her out of everybody? Well, it's because I think she fits the description of one of the Holy Knights. So if you go to the dragon silhouette, of course, this is going to be blown out of proportions. It's not the best example. It's not my strongest point here, right? Among all the weakest points, this is the weakest. But among the Holy Knights, there is one silhouetted character that is like this weird, stocky, bulgy character. And I thought that shape is really odd. It kind of looks like a buccaneer, right? And then you go to God Valley and you see that same shape off to the left. And it's like, okay, who the hell is this person? Is it a buccaneer? Is it a guy that just ate too many Wheaties? We don't know. But do you know whose body shape actually fits that? Ange. The reason I said this is the weakest point, though, is because Ange is a giant. She's massive, right? So it wouldn't make sense if she stood around the same height as the other holy knights. That makes no sense at all. So, that is why I don't put the most stocks into this one. But as far as the other point, the name Ange. Ange is really interesting because when translated to its
Greek origins,
actually means messenger of God. And of course, you add the L and you get angel. And I'm like, wait a minute. Messenger of God, angel. That right there kind of sounds in line with the celestial dragons. So the next thing that kind of set this all into motion was what she said in chapter 1134. So Ripley is talking about King Harold, and she's describing him to Usopp and to Luffy and Zoro, and she says, yeah, King Harold's a great guy. He wanted peace, he wanted trade, he wanted to make love to other nations, and then Usopp says, wait, King Harold, because Usopp's never heard of this guy before. So Ange goes on, and she describes King Harold a little bit more for Usopp. She says, oh, he's a visionary of a king who wanted to revolutionize our country. He was slain by his actual flesh and blood, that crazy prince. The country still refuses to recognize his claim to the throne. That's why Elbaph doesn't currently have a sovereign. That first part, makes sense to add. But that middle portion, Loki killed him. I get it. That is the hot goss around Elbaph. I mean, hell, a giant on Dory and Brogy's ship told us that exact same thing. But, if you're a sleeper agent, if you're trying to frame somebody, of course you're going to paint them in a negative light. If anybody else were to say this, it'd be fine. But since I already suspect Ange for no real reason, that line kind of sticks out, right? Usopp didn't ask about Loki, but, she managed to slip it in saying, yeah, that crazy prince, that bloodthirsty guy killed King Harold. She's trying to paint that negative picture. She's trying to really nail it in that Loki's not good. So outside of that, though, why? Why would Ange be a bad person? Why are they here in Elbaph? How long have they been here? What is their goal? That is a really valid question. So I got a couple of different thought trains with this. One, this could do what the person that Shanks' clone-twin is after, right? The last time we saw him in chapter 907, he said, hey, Gorosei, I want to talk to y'all about a certain pirate. We don't know who the pirate is, but maybe Ange was on the island to gather information about that person. Another option would be Mosa, right? Loki and Mosa. Mosa apparently is really bored. It seems like they're in hiding and or isolated. But why? Maybe it has to do with the traumatic event that they witnessed. Maybe they have something from the Holy Land or a treasure of some sort. And Ange here is sent out to look for that person. One thing I really enjoy about the thought train that Ange is looking for someone here in Elbaph has to do with the chair we see in the owl library. So when we see the owl library, we see this giant owl at the top, right? But right beside the owl is a chair. So that means that somebody sits up there with the owl. Who could it be? Is it Saul's chair or is it Ange's chair? Personally, I think that chair belongs to Ange. And the reason why is because of the mystery of the owl library. I think that whoever Ange is looking for is maybe tied to that ability, or maybe the person she's looking for was last seen in the library, and that is why she sits up there. That is why she is a library assistant as well, because she wants to keep a keen eye on her surroundings here. Another way we could spin this, right? Another way we could spin this could be that Ange is a library assistant because she is making sure that the Giants do not progress too far. We've seen plot lines like this a couple of times in the past, albeit, spun differently. But at Water 7, right, we had CP9 infiltrating Galley Law. They're waiting for the moment to steal Pluton's blueprints from Frankie and Iceberg. And then we also had Egghead Island, where York told the Gorosei that Vegapunk was researching the Void Century. And then we have Ohara, where the world government came over once the Ohara scholars made too many discoveries. Maybe Ange is here in Elbaph to make sure that the giants don't gain too much knowledge or learn anything that they shouldn't. So this might sound ridiculous, but when we got the reveal in this chapter that pretty much all the books of Ohara has survived and made it here to Elbaph, it seemed a little bit silly, right? Like, oh, the Marines didn't do a single damn thing? Like, that Buster Call was pointless. Well, what if the world government knew about that? They said, hey, that was pointless. We did a really bad job. So why not send someone to follow the books? Oh, the books of Ohara are now on Elbaph? Why not send a sleeper agent to make sure they don't learn anything they shouldn't? Because if they do, we might have to burn them down one more time. Maybe that's it. Another way we could spin this is that maybe Ange is the keeper of the tree. So we know that Marijwa has the Eve tree, right? We've never seen it yet, but we know that it exists somewhere within the Red Line or atop of Marijwa. We haven't seen it. But since that tree is under world government control, it only makes sense that they'd also want to keep a close eye on the Adam tree as well, right? You know, you can't have Eve without Adam. So maybe Ange is here to keep an eye on the Yggdrasil tree and just give the Gorosei or, you know, the Holy Knights updates about what's happening here, the tree's health, and all that good stuff. And now the last thing I want to talk about. How did Ange get here? Why is she Saul's assistant? How did she get in the good graces of the Giants if she's working for the enemy team? Well, Mother Carmel. Mother Carmel could be the great link between Ange and the Holy Land. So Mother Carmel is, if you forgot, one of the main reasons why Cypherpole has so many damn assassins. It's because Mother Carmel, I wouldn't say she breeds them, but she grooms the kids here on Elbaph, right? Mother Carmel was the bridge that brought giants into the Marines. Who's to say that she also didn't get a giant fully on her side? The giants that Mother Carmel worked with were none the wiser when it came to her dirty schemes. But what if there was one giant out there that did know about Mother Carmel's dirty work? What if there was one giant out there that actually helped Mother Carmel? And what if that giant is none other than Ange? A lot of people are wondering how Big Mom's backstory will tie back in here in Elbaph. Ange could be the great connector. Ange could be a part of Mother Carmel's backstory, which in tie would be connected to Big Mom, and she brings it to the present. We already had one sleeper agent in Elbaph before with Carmel. We'll have another here in 2025. I'm telling you guys, keep an eye on Ange. Like I said, I don't have a lot to go off on, and this sounds like just somebody rambling, right? I'm like a guy on the side of the street saying that the world is going to end with no conclusive proof at all, but I feel it, man. I just don't trust Ange. There's just something about her. Yeah, I mean, from the hat to the hair to the smile. Oh, man, everything about Ange is just, it's screaming villain to me. Maybe it's because back on Egghead Island, we were scarred by York, right? We loved York. My God, York was great. And then look at her. She betrayed us in the 11th hour. She sold us out. So now I don't trust anybody. You know, it's a sad existence, right? Not being able to trust a manga character that just got introduced this same damn chapter, but my God, there's just something about her. You know, there's something about her smile too, right? You see that smile where she's like, like those tykes, those kids use this spring as a playground. Like, I can almost imagine her like stabbing somebody in the process. Yeah, I don't trust her as far as I can throw her. And let me tell you guys, man, I got a bad shoulder. I can't throw very far. So I don't trust this girl at all. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming to my rambling session. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the theory. You know, here in a week or two or maybe a year, we can look back at this video and say, wow, Sai is a prophet or Sai is a lunatic. With that being said though, guys, I'll catch y'all later. Thanks for joining me on this crazy Christmas theory. Have a good one. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and all that good stuff. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.